And Jonathan, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it quick.
Running the 23rd.
I'm just going to keep this real quick because, see, I'm just a regular person who's coming out here and running because I don't want the socialists to take over and take my kids and do all the bad things. But I'm going to tell you one thing. The biggest fight that we have is through the Republican Party. Because, let me tell you something. I got the Queens Village Republican Party that's running as someone who's actively campaigning against me. I got this guy over here. No, I'm not going to calm down. Because Steve Spear is another one that nobody likes. You're a cancer to the Republican Party. You shouldn't be in leadership. You need to get the hell out of here. And let me tell you something else. Samantha Zherka worked her goddamn ass off and got 150 votes. They're stealing our goddamn votes. And if we don't do something about it, everybody's got to be out there in the streets. Okay? None of this getting together and doing nothing. We all need to be out there at the poll sites and making sure that they don't steal our votes. And I'll tell you one thing, if I ever win, if I'm going to be involved in this party, the cancerous leadership of the Republican Party, the people that are in here need to step down because pride comes before the fall, Steve. And nobody likes your ass, and everybody knows that, and you can write that in the thing.
Who likes me here? Does anybody like me here?
Nobody.
Well, you won't because it's not nobody.
And you're a coward. You didn't take a stand on abortion. You have medical freedom, and then you don't want to say anything about abortion. You're a coward. You're a coward. Everybody knows it. And you shouldn't even be here anymore. So get the hell out of here.
And take the
video. I gotta go.
Social media, dude.
Yeah, social media, my ass.
I have more friends than you. I have more friends than you. Don't ever have, you little.
Nobody has your ass. Nobody. You want to say some shit? Say some shit. Come on. Jonathan.
Do what? Come here, turn around, you little bitch.
Stand up. Stand up, then.
We're not here for that. We're not here for that.
What is your achievement?
We're trying to work
What is
together.
your achievement? What are your achievements?
What the hell did you do?
What you
Go kiss fucking Steve's ass for the rest of your life.
You look like a fed.
No bad language.
What's a fed? Yes, you do. That's not nice. Yes, you do.
Okay, I need some coffee.
What? I have to fight against the whole goddamn party.
Poor Jonathan. Poor Jonathan. Jonathan has it so hard.
Come on, enough.
Listen, you want something to say to me? Let's go right
Poor
here.
Jonathan.
Come on, right here. We'll go out here.
Not bad.
Yeah, get up. You're
Pass it on the street.
We're not in a ring. We're not in a ring. You know that.
Hello everyone.
Poor Jonathan.
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into basically the main part of the meeting there. We have candidates here to speak with and tell us about the primary results. Before we introduce the candidates, let me at least recognize Robert Skaretka, who has been doing basically coordinating early voting as well as election day. He's going to give us an idea of what happened during the early voting and voting stage this year. Even though he's not covering the Republican race in Queens, but he wanted to at least give you an idea.
Oh, and we have on video here, so we got Jonathan on video.
Steve. He wasn't even. Come on.
Alright. Nobody ever tells you to shut up. I'm going to tell you to shut up every
You have it all on camera. Of
fucking
course you have it on camera.
Thanks, Amy.
If everybody can watch your language, we're in a place of God. That'll be great.
Robert's going to give an idea of what happened during the polling sites. Go ahead. Some stories and we're going to go to the candidates.
Okay. I work as an affidavit inspector at Helen Marshall, which is pooling for the primary, you pool all these other sites, maybe 10 sites into one for the primary. And it officially started on the 27th, 27th is the election. It started on a Saturday, the 17th, and the day before, I went there to try to set up all equipment because they had all the coordinators and the affidavit inspectors. So to set up the site ahead of time. And we had some long hours. Of the 9 days I attended, 7 days, the polling site was open for 8 hours, and 2 days it was open for 10 hours, and of which the first day you had to be there an hour and a half before to set up and get everything ready, going. And attendance was, in the beginning, was very slim. You know, we might have had, the first day we maybe had 70 people voting. And then the last day on Sunday, we had 165. So total for the whole week was about 964 for the whole week. And I was working with another, I'm with the Republicans. They have to have a Democrat there. And I was talking to another Democrat. She says, if Trump gets elected, I'm voting for him. I hate Biden, she says. And she says, the Democrat Party is not like it used to be. You know, it's changed, it's getting too far to the left and everything else. And then after working the 9 days early voting, the following day on a Monday, last Monday, I had to go to the site, and because I was in charge of 31 people at PS 144, because I was a coordinator, and I had to go through all kinds of things. So sometimes, if there's a problem, I have to resolve it, you know, at the polling site. But I got there like 20 minutes to 5 in the morning. 20 to 5, everybody had to be there at 5 o'clock. I want to make sure I'm there early. And officially it ends at 9 o'clock, providing all the voters, if there's a couple people still voting, you have to wait until you officially close. And then they give me the memory stick from the scanner, and I have to put it in the tablet and give the record to Albany. And we closed at 9:32. I dismissed everybody. Everybody had a good job, maybe because it was light voting. It started picking up a little bit, like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening on election day. But the biggie's coming next year, the presidential, and that's going to be rough. So that's going to be easy. Because the last time I worked, even early voting, let me see, you know, on election day, the presidential election, we were averaging like 1,500 people, 1,500 to 2,000 a day at early voting. And for the election day, I think we must have had about 2,500 people. I think we got out at 10 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Rob, for doing this. We have a special guest that came in. I'm sure you all know Chuck Schumer. The person that ran against him, Joe Pinion.
Well, it's good to see everyone. So many friendly and familiar faces. I heard I missed all the commotion.
Yes, you did.
Thank God. A day late and $1 short. Yes.
It wasn't much.
But for those that don't know, I am Joe Pinion, the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate this past cycle. I'm now doing some media surrogacy for this party on the various cable networks. So I joke it is an honest living in a dishonest world, but somebody has to do it. And look, I just wanted to touch base, bring greetings from Chairman Collins, but also to encourage all of you to keep showing up and doing this work. You know, we look at the autopsy of what happened in 2022. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good news is that we were able to wake up a lot of New Yorkers. That all across this state, and certainly right here in Queens, we saw the pendulum starting to shift. As people realize that we have elected officials who have been in power for a very long time, have served communities for extended periods of time, and yet have not added value to your lives. And as we see this continued progression with our children attending schools that are more concerned with teaching them about the mechanics of sex, and then the ABCs, as we see this actual progression of communities that have become less safe, as we see this continued progression of individuals wondering if they have to face the horrific choice of leaving their home in order to pursue their American dream, people are starting to come around to what we've been saying for a very long time. But that does not happen overnight. And ultimately, the work in between the major elections is what's required if we're going to make sure that the communities that we seek and the America that we deserve finally comes within our reach. So we see people in this room, many of you, some of you are running for local office. Please, if there's anything that I can do, if there's anything the state party can do to support you in that effort, please do not hesitate to give me a call, to give the state party a call. I have often... I'll give it to you after. But
Talk to me, I'll give it to you.
But I often remark that, too often our party at the national level and also at the local level, we have treated the grassroots as if they are a nuisance. We have to find ways to work together. We have to recognize that a party is just a word on paper, right? It's just a filing with the government, right? But it's comprised of people. And those people make up a movement, and that movement can change a nation. And so, as we try to change the direction of our state, as they think that they can save the globe by getting rid of coal-fired pizza, we recognize that we have to get out into the world and bring a message of change to our community.
There's also nice hot Chinese food too.
Yes. Well, don't look now, right? But if they get all the electric stoves, there won't be any woks for anybody. If you enjoy a good wok,
Down
you
with
hope
the
it is not your
crispy
friend.
combo chicken, all right?
Yes, sir.
Children is up next year. She needs a challenger.
Well, look, I think, as they all say, all options are on the table. But for me, right now, I'm focused on doing what I can to help groups like this help get the word out. You look at, there's some real serious issues. We've got an economy that is not working, a state that doesn't seem to notice that the economy is not working. They call it job growth because we have people going back to work even though they forget it was the government that kicked them off the job. It was the government that told people that they could be fired for not putting an experimental drug into their arm. It was the government that told people... It was the government that told those teachers and those first responders who in many ways put their life on the line, put their personal comfort on the back burner, that their service was no longer wanted. And so the government keeps finding more and more ways to tell us that they don't care about us, and more importantly, tell us they don't value our values. And so you can't get everyone to agree with you all the time, but you certainly can get people to agree with you one at a time. And that is what rooms like this can do. So I encourage you to go out, talk to your neighbors, not about voting for the next Republican, but informing them about what's happening in their communities. Did you know that they're trying to teach your children about sexually explicit behavior at too young of an age? Did you know that they are trying to make your electric bill more and more expensive because, again, they shut down the nuclear power plant at Indian Point, but meanwhile they're trying to ensure that you have to replace the boiler in the basement? Did you know these things? Because the average New Yorker doesn't know, because how could they? How could they keep up with the scattershot of insanity that comes out of Albany every single day, where they're trying to take all of our local elections and put them in even years or presidential years? That is not somebody who's being a good steward of the public trust. That's somebody who is trying to abuse the public trust in the dead of night. If we know that all politics are local, that what happens on our everyday lives is sometimes more pertinent than what happens in the presidential election, then how are we supposed to have those real conversations about safety, about security, about our schools, when they've shoved them onto a daisy chain of a ballot that's going to end up being 4 pages? We can't. And they know we can't, but they don't care. So these are the times when we look to people like yourself to volunteer to run for office, to volunteer to knock on doors, and help spread a message of hope, and help spread a message of engagement and just encouragement for people who feel as if they've been left behind. And you'd be surprised that, as my grandfather told me a long time ago, the road to yes often includes a maybe. And so if we can start with those maybes, that's a powerful place to be. And so obviously I want to leave some time for any questions, but again, just there's some things that are happening right now that are not good. Right? They're trying to push through a reparations bill to say that New York State owes billions for slavery and all manner of inequality, even though I'm not sure if you know, New York is not really a slave state. They skip that in civics class because they don't want people to know their history. They don't want people to know civics. So we've got serious problems here that are crippling our ability to provide for the American dream. We've got public schools in New York City where in some instances you can't find a single child that is doing math at proficient level or statewide. We have 60% of our children not reading at grade level. What future can our children have if they cannot actually read the name on the ballot, but they're sure as hell going to tell you which person on the ballot to vote for? It's the person who's going to keep you not being able to read those names on the ballot. So if we are to be a free society, free people have to be educated, and free people have to have the right to defend themselves. And every single day, we find that these people on the far left, they're trying to take away our right to defend ourselves. They're trying to take away our right to educate our children. So that's the task. It seems great, but it's quite achievable if we lean in, not in the name of our party, but in the name of our values, because if we get people to buy into our values, then the enrollment in the party will surely follow. So with that, I know that I saw some hands up there.
Just wanted to thank you so much for that race you ran against Chuck Schumer. You did. You came from nowhere and put on a tremendous battle.
Well, I appreciate it. Look, my mother likes to hear things like that. But I will simply say that, at the end of the day, a campaign is a vessel. It's a vessel for the pain of a people. It's also a vessel for the ambitions of a people. And I think that we see from those results against a man who's been in politics for 42 years, who, again, has been in public office longer than I've been drawing breath on this earth, that the pain of the people and the ambition of the people had come to a moment where people can no longer be denied. So our day is coming. I remind people that, look, I had no plans on running for U.S. Senate in 2022. I had a very nice job hosting my own show, sitting behind the desk on Newsmax. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, made possible by the sacrifices of too many to name, starting with a mother that mortgaged her own happiness to make sure that I could stand here, or a grandmother that put the fear of God in my spirit, with the Bible in my crib, and also made possible by the greatest advantage that anyone could ever be given, living right here in the United States of America. And I often talk about my favorite quote in politics, which was from John Adams, famous American president, talking to his son, John Quincy Adams, who became an American president himself. He told his son, "You come into life with advantages that will disgrace you if your success is mediocre." And I think about that quote often, because there is no greater advantage than living in the United States of America. But the greatest disgrace will be if we allow America to fall on our watch. America is bigger than just the names on the ballot. America, like a party, is comprised of the people that call this great nation home. We need to reaffirm those bonds. We need to strengthen those bonds of affection with our neighbors once again. If there are people on the left want to call us everything but a child of God, that is sad, but let them. We must meet that with love. We must meet that with compassion. We must meet that with simply the truth. And the truth is this, that the American dream today remains the greatest, most vibrant hope for the world. That is why so many people from all around the world are trying to come here. Those who are trying to come here legally, and also the 4 million people standing in line legally to come to this nation. And yet what do? They've got people convinced that the migrant crisis was just a figment of our imagination, until, of course, that figment of our imagination showed up knocking on our front door and is now costing us billions upon billions of dollars. We've got people right here in New York City living in public housing. It is $40 billion behind in repairs. You've got 20,000 elevators that don't work. And of course, our senator who's the most powerful senator in DC, one of the most powerful men in American politics, held a press conference to talk about how glad he was to bring us $25 million to address the problem. And the people who should know better say nothing, the people who don't know better, because he cares about us, which is a tragedy in motion. So we need to tell these stories. We need to spread the word. We need to tell people it is not normal for people to turn a blind eye to grown adults flashing children in the streets. That's not normal. It is normal for people to want to live their life on their own terms. It is not normal for you to try to normalize adult behavior in the eyes of children who should never witness it. If there are things that people are doing in public, if there are things that people are doing on public property that if you actually did in a private home would result in you being put in jail, then why in the world would you sanction those activities for children? In the name of our government, in the name of this state. It can't be done. It can't be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. And so we need to tell people this is not a message of hate, but it is a message of grave concern. It's a message of compassion, a defense of the one thing in this world that once you lose it, you can never get back, childhood innocence. So that is my greetings, my tidings from the party here in Queens, and to remind you that yes, bit by bit, it seems like things are going too slow, but the road to us capturing this state, to reclaiming this state, it goes through Queens. It is the most robust, diverse borough in this city. It is the most fertile ground that we have in the state, so we've got to do the work. People like you have been doing the work. I'm grateful that so many of you put your faith in our campaign this past cycle. 2.5 million New Yorkers, starting in rooms like this, bought into our message and recognized that change was coming. Change is still coming, bit by bit, slowly, too slowly, but slowly still, we're going to get the job done. So thank you so much, and there's some other hands. Yes?
Do you see a solution to the crime in the subways? I'm taking cabs, spending too much money on cabs. And most people really are afraid of taking the subways now. Do you see a solution? Because crime is up in the subways. They may tell you crime is down elsewhere, but it's really up in the subways.
Well, I would say the first step to solving any problem is acknowledging that it exists. And the problem with our leadership right now is they don't want to acknowledge any problems, starting with the thing that people care about the most. Our first obligation to society, the safety and security of our residents and our citizens. So yeah, it's hard to stop a crime crisis on the subway if you're continually telling people it doesn't exist, and then you don't want to take the steps to stop it. We need to have more police officers on the subway. We need to make sure the cameras down in the subway system actually work. I think you remember famously that shooting that occurred down in the subways where we didn't actually have the cameras working, so we didn't actually know initially and immediately who had been the perpetuator of the crime. So there are best practices that exist to stop this behavior that simply aren't being utilized and aren't being leveraged. We have the greatest police force in the country. And then within the greatest police force of the country, we have one of the best intelligence apparatuses in the country, right? Second only to the people down in DC. So we know how to stop crime in New York. We've seen it happen from the height of the insanity in 1994 to present. But we're sliding backwards now. And so to stop that slide, we have to acknowledge some bitter truths. The bitter truths are that when you start disbanding gang units, when you start telling police officers that you're more concerned with the optics of crime than you are with the impetus to stop the criminal, bad things happen to innocent people. And the day they decided that the needs of the criminal were more important than the safety and security of the common man, with the three most dangerous words in modern politics, defund the police, we were all put in danger. And so we need to be funding the police. We need to be partnering with police. We need to be adopting 21st century best practices to keep our communities safe. Yes?
Two-part question. About half the people here with the Medical Freedom Party, and a lot of them are actually running on the Medical Freedom Party and Republican lines. First of all right? And also, would you be interested in running as one of our candidates, first of all? And second of all, with the funds you raised during your last campaign, would you be interested in helping getting people elected as Republicans and Medical Freedom Party to the Assembly and to the City Council?
Well, look, we certainly need to get more people elected to the Assembly and the City Council. I mean, when you can count the entire Republican caucus on less than 2 hands on the City Council, that is too numerous to count. Certainly something's gone terribly wrong in Denmark. You look at the Assembly, we've got a Democratic supermajority going all the way back to when Ford was president. So, I mean, this is not the substance of success. This is a legacy of failure that we are doing our best to turn around. To the substantive issue, money we raise for the campaign specifically, most of it is gone, palm cards and ads and all the other stuff, right? We do have some limited resources left over, and again, happy to do what we can with what we have left over to be of service and also to help. Certainly reach out to me and also the state party, but yeah, we've got to do better, again, empowering the grassroots. Again, I don't get to tell you what to care about, and I certainly don't get to tell you to vote for my issues in the name of the things that make it my issue, right? So we need to recognize that the reason why more and more people are turning to the Republican Party, the reason why there are even Republicans who are listening to what RFK has to say in this presidential cycle is because there are some ignored realities about what happened here. That we should be doing everything humanly possible to keep people safe. But the notion that asking a question about the substances we put in our body should be verboten is insane. It is an affront to this country that we love, that was built on the principle of freedom of speech. That we have a scientific community that is predicated on the notion of the scientific method, which requires that we ask questions and then set about putting forth scientific studies in order to address and answer those questions to come to a conclusion that allows people to make the best decisions they can for themselves and their family. When we had Jerry Nadler the other day, I think perhaps maybe he's right behind Joe Biden taking his actual senses when he said that we should have mandated that we had masks on the faces of 2-year-olds. When everybody knew, including the people that were pushing the vaccines and pushing the masks, that we didn't need masks on the children, that in many ways we needed to have masks on the adults, because the children were not ground zero for the virus that we were dealing with, right? So everywhere you look, they are pushing orthodoxy, they're not pushing science. Everywhere you look, they're trying to push a narrative that takes us further away from the things that most people are concerned about. Do I have the freedom to do with my body what I choose? Do I have the ability to still self-determine the financial freedom and security of my family? Inevitably, the answer becomes no. It can't be yes when you're trying to force people to basically get rid of the gas hookups to their buildings, which makes their life more expensive, to change the boiler, which makes their life more expensive, to convert to solar panels that don't have the robust power required to power a 21st century world, to have an entire fleet of buses that are going to be powered by electricity, as if we actually have an electric grid that can support powering all of those things. We saw what happened down in Virginia this past year, back in 2021, all those people stranded on I-95. What happens when all the rescue vehicles are powered by electricity and we've got a snowstorm? I can tell you what happens, people die, right? So we can do 2 things. We can be forward-looking. We can embrace a global multi-trillion-dollar opportunity presented by renewable energies, but we can also deal with reality that if you recognize Americans are struggling, and in particular, if you recognize New York has become an expensive place to live, that we should not be focused on making it even more burdensome, even more expensive. So, yes, long story short, anything I can do to help, anything that the party can do to help, certainly let me know. In the future, I think, yes, the more lines that we have and the more ways that we can differentiate our candidates from the nonsense that people are putting forth, I think those are always options that we should be exploring. And again, working together as a movement to figure out how many lines we need, what districts we need certain lines in, and how collectively we can go about doing exactly what you said, winning more seats on city council and winning more seats down up there in the assembly.
Yeah. On both the national level and the state level, I think election integrity has become a very serious issue. I mean, without election integrity, all the work that you described earlier could easily go out the window. So if you take a look at the Heritage Foundation Election Integrity Index, you'll see that New York is 43rd place among the states with a score of 46. You would not be proud if your child got 46 on a test. So is anything being done about election integrity?
Well, the short answer is not enough. I think you talk about the score, it's worth noting. New York habitually over-indexes for many things bad and under-indexes for many things good. Yeah, I think it's a real problem. I think that we should be looking at ways to clean up the rolls. When you've got people on the voter rolls that were alive when Abraham Lincoln was president, and they're still still active voters, something has gone terribly wrong. I would like to meet with those voters in person. We should have a day here in New York, and we should honor them. We should, roll them out in the wheelchair. If they're not in a wheelchair, I want to know what exactly they're eating on a daily basis so that I can be so proud of them. So, look, I think in a serious way, certainly that is the exception, not the norm, but it does highlight a real problem, that we do need the voter rolls to be clean. We do need to make sure, and that's the priority, and clearly it's not the priority. The priority here is not to clean up the voter roll, to find out how we can get people who are not citizens to vote. So that's what the city council is trying to do. That's what we're currently in the courts trying to fight, because they don't seem to care about the need to have citizens voting. They don't care about diluting what it means to be a citizen. They're always trying to find ways to inject more problems into a system in desperate need of repair. So yes, I think the state party currently is doing some work to make sure that we're securing the votes of people in our party, making sure that their votes actually get counted. There are certainly organizations all around the state who are doing their part. Certainly Judicial Watch sued the state, and I think they're going to be suing again to make sure that we can clean the rolls. So it's certainly not one point of contact that can do that. I think it's the collective group effort from some of these private organizations, the National Party, and also individuals like yourself who continue to call into question and raise attention on some of these discrepancies.
One or two more questions?
What did you think of today's U.S. Supreme Court decision?
Well, look, I think for me, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because the reality is America is a nation that should be founded on merit. It's also bittersweet because it shows you that after 60 years, we have far too much work left to do. Again, you look right here in New York City, 75% of the black students are not doing math at grade level. But that's not the lead story on CNN tonight. It won't be the lead story on CNN tomorrow. It won't be the lead story on any of the networks I hear on a pretty regular basis. They'll be talking about affirmative action and how affirmative action was gutted, even though any lawyer who's honest will tell you affirmative action wasn't gutted. They simply said that universities cannot use race as the sole deciding factor for admission. And so the question becomes, if you're telling me that the only thing that Harvard University can do to find value in who I am as a person is not the content of my brains, but the color of my skin, then I don't think Harvard is as good an institution as they claim to be. If these people who claim to be the best and the brightest, the intellectual giants of all intellectual giants, can't come up with some type of system that allows us to take into account that we have people who are attending schools of various levels of proficiency, that we have individuals coming from communities that have varied levels of economic proficiency, and that all of that should be put into a context to see the whole person, then maybe we need to talk about eradicating all of these schools, going down to the studs. And why aren't we talking about what leads to us crafting that policy in the first place over 60 years ago? The fact that we do have so much educational deficiency within our secondary school system. We're not addressing any of the underlying issues. There's no real plan to improve the reading. There's no real plan to improve the math. There's no real plan to improve the sciences. So we're not actually preparing the students for being there. And as such, this program, well intended as it may have been, has become not a pathway to success. It has become both a crutch and a ceiling on the ambitions of this nation, for the people who need the ambitions of this nation to work for them the most. So that's my perspective. The Supreme Court did what they needed to do to effectively tell the politicians, do your damn job. Figure out a way to make sure that this country works for everybody, and telling the schools that they're on notice that you no longer get to hide behind the Supreme Court as to figure out how you can compose and you're a student body. You actually have to go out here, roll your sleeves up, and find value in people, not simply the color of their skin.
Last question?
Yes. Good to see you.
Say here, I'm a local lady speak. I have a question. I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on.
Can you speak up, please?
I'm trying. My voice is bad. I don't know if you know what was going on in District 13 in the Bronx with the chairman, Michael Randino. Is Ed Cox familiar with the nepotism and the cronyism that he's put out there with nominating his sister, who's married to the Board of Elections Commissioner?
So,
Repeat the question, please. So just,
I wanted to find out.
Let Joe repeat it.
Go ahead.
So the question was about District 13. Obviously, Mike Rendino, who's the chair of the Bronx, his sister was running for District 13. Did she win? I believe they're still counting the votes?
Yes, still counting.
So, and the question was relative to nepotism and the process. All I will say is this. I've known Mike Rendino for some years now. Certainly, obviously, the party is aware of the primary. I think what we need to find a way to do is to make sure that the people in our party, and certainly the people who engage in the process on a granular level, feel as if they're being heard and feel as if the process is fair. And I'm not intimately, kind of involved in the details there, but everyone that I've talked to that's reached out to me has felt is the one word that keeps coming back to me is fairness, right? And feeling as if somehow that they're being heard. And so I think that we can do a better job as a party, making sure that people feel as if their voice is being heard, making sure that the process is so transparent that people feel, irrespective of the outcome, that it was at least a fair process. And I think that's certainly things that, I plan on hopefully doing with the party. I know Chairman Cox is committed to having that be the standard across the board from the Bronx to Queens and everywhere in between. So yes, I think
So
there
are you saying that you've gotten feedback that it was fair?
I've gotten feedback that there are concerns about fairness, right? And I think that, yeah.
So, because we have,
and beyond that, right?
I mean, this chairman stopped at nothing but threaten candidates all day, all night, literally threaten them. He stopped at nothing but make fun of the people's, like my dead son. He stopped at nothing but attack my employees. He protested in front of other candidate, fundraisers, alleging fraud, alleging that they committed fraud, when we find out that, quite frankly, it was him that was doing precisely what he alleged the other candidate to have done. He stopped at nothing. And, his sister is married to the Board of Elections Commissioner. So how is it at all? I mean, we don't need people to step out and say it doesn't appear to be fair. It is completely unfair, and it's completely cronyism. And I can't imagine that Ed Cox or anyone on the state level is seeing this as okay, because if they are, then what they're doing is precisely shunning the process for good candidates and the Republican process to take its effect here in the city of New York. We are in a one-party rule. We're in a one-party rule, everybody. And it's not because we don't have great, strong candidates or intelligent or, passionate candidates. We have chairmen in positions that choose their favorite person, and their favorite person is there because they're puppet strings for the party and not for the people. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. I won't stop talking about it until every citizen and every resident in this city understands that we are being sold out by a party and chairmen that are so entrenched in every county. This chairman is entrenched in Long Island. He lives in Long Island, but he's dictating the outcome of the Bronx. Okay? He's been doing so in every candidate as far back as when he was running and Tina Forte was running, and good candidates were running. He fought every single one of them. He was the one stabbing them in their back, putting people in their path. He did so with me. Unfortunate for me, I had a great manager right there, the man that's running for against George Santos. He busted his hump 24 hours a day because the people that the chairman put in my path were there to stall me. He recognized it. He stepped in and slept on my office floor to ensure that I win. And I won the Bronx. Good. I did something that no Republican has done in 20 years. This time around, we have a chairman that was more eager to put his sister there, who is doing nothing more than opening the doors for nepotism and cronyism across the board as a puppet on the strings while we all suffer. We will suffer with these party rulers because they're only interested in themselves. I'm here today and I will go across the state. I'm not shutting up. I promise God it will be about people and it will be about God. These people here are
First, I want to thank Joe Pinion for having represented we try to do something there, and certainly tonight we're going to talk more details about exactly what Samantha's talking with people from Brooklyn. That's also going to be talking somewhat similar. But before we get to them, first I just want to thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And again, obviously, just to that point, right? At the end of the day, right? People are people, right? We have to find ways as a movement, right? I always say there is the party and then there is the movement, right? And the job of the movement is to be the conscience of the party, right? And so at the end of the day, all we can ask of you is to do what is on your conscience. And most of the time that aligns with the party, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's the beauty of democracy. That's also the beauty of a Republican movement. A Republican movement that says that we should have diversity of thought, just not diversity of skin color, right? So I want to thank all of you for everything you're doing, to keep doing the work, to keep fighting for what you believe in, come what may, as they say. And again, we're gonna make sure that come soon and very soon, we're going to be victorious in these elections. We're going to change this state.
Okay, now before we get to the candidates, don't forget we have the 50-50, we have a lot of steins and over there. That's how we are funded as well. Okay. So please, if you have time right now, please contribute to the 50-50 drawings. When we start inviting all the 6 Republican primary candidates to come, we have almost everyone from, most of the people are saying they're going to come, okay? Until primary. Of the 6 races, only 2 are settled, okay? 4 of them are still not settled because of, in the case of Samantha's district in Bronx, besides the absentee ballot votes, there's also ranked choice. Right. And she can be actually the kingmaker of who wins, depending on who her people vote on second choice. Okay? And in the case of also that we have coming here tonight, we have Ying Tan from Bronx, the 43rd district in Brooklyn. Even though she has won the machine vote, it's only by 20 votes, and there's about 59 more absentee ballots to be counted. In our own county of Queens, we have James High and Danny Chen both said they would love to come because they want to show unity. Until the primary says there are 990 absentee ballots. Yes, I know, it's kind of surprising. It's the most in the entire city of New York. Okay? And even though Danny Chen is behind by 170 votes, okay, he says, I may win, I'm not coming. So, because of this primary, so that's not settled as well. So both have decided not to come. But now let me turn the time over, okay, to basically the 2 candidates that are here. We also invited all the county chairmen to come, okay, because we want them to basically...
Quiet, please.
Yeah, we want all the county chairmen basically to show unity behind the candidates there. Unfortunately, their answer was, if my candidates win, I will think about it. Which is kind of sad. So I'm very happy that Joe Pinion came, because at least on state level, they would like to hopefully be more involved. So let me go ahead and get started with the Bronx. Samantha, the floor is yours.
So, Samantha Zherka. I ran for City Council in District 13. And as I was speaking before, I really came here, first off, to meet every one of you. And I thank Danny for inviting me. I'm going to echo on Pinion as far as getting as many people out to run for office. We do need great Republican passionate candidates. But before we bring that to the surface, we have to clean. We have to get rid of the poison. There is a rotten seed that's been planted in the garden that's not allowing for the trees to grow.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
And what's growing is trees that are siphoning our oxygen. So, and I'm speaking about the Republican chairman of the Bronx County, Mike Rendino. I call him Corrosive Rendino. And the reason why I call him that is because every candidate, he nominates the candidate, and then he's the one that takes the candidate down. He calls it optics, you see? It's like television. We're going to tell a story, and we're going to pretend we're doing something, but they do nothing. I know I'm not the only candidate that has had a chairman, attack them. My other opponent, George Havenack, was tormented by the chairman because all along he wanted his sister to win. Imagine that. Imagine the Board of Elections Commissioner. He gets paid $202,000 a year, as if that's not enough to go an hour a day to a public hearing. That's all he participates in. Now he wants his sister because he has greater prospects. He's right now injecting himself in casino deals in Nassau County. He's got, he manipulates Nassau County and tells them that, the casinos is going to be great for the community, but we know casinos are going to bring crime. Okay? So this man, all he does is talk. And everything that comes out of his mouth, you have to wonder which side is speaking, if it's that side or this side. At the end of the day, he is the element that everyone should be angry in the city of New York, because if you think it doesn't affect you, it absolutely does. We're in a one-party rule, and it's almost 3 decades, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like we can't get a Republican in. But it's not because of Republican candidates like the 2 young ladies in the back who are gorgeous and fighters. It's not because we can't get them, right? It's because we have chairmen that are so interested in their expansion of power that they could give a hoot about any one of yous. Okay? They'll come out and talk the talk, but never walk the walk. They're never going to walk the walk. And it's about time that we grow together as a community and say enough. Demand more from your chairman. Go and ask, run for committee, right, county committee. Do something more, okay? Get involved with it and push the envelope and don't allow them to bully other candidates. It's unacceptable. It's one of the hardest things that somebody can do. I thought my job was hard. I fight insurance companies. I'm a public insurance adjuster. I represent the public against the insurance company. I've never lost a case. I'm passionate and I'm a fighter. I thought that was the hardest. When I started running, last year, when I ran for state senate, Phil Grillo did an amazing job. We ran a campaign for only 2 months, and we came out the victors in the Bronx. We didn't win the race because of Westchester County, but we won the Bronx. And instead of the chairman recognizing that the very district that I won, District 13, I beat a Democrat. I should have been the candidate. But he fought me every single possible way, and stopped at nothing. Because he needs his sister there. I call her the puppet, the placeholder. She's a puppet. And she's going to think about it. Is she going to go against her husband? Is she going to go against her brother? She's going to do the bidding for them. And he's probably got future prospects of running for mayor. This is all about self-expansion of power. And I hate to say it, I know that Pinion is a great guy, but if he came down to speak about Cox and saying that Cox is going to do something, well, Cox must have saw what I was putting out there, because I put in newspapers. I put articles in there for the public to see what Rendino was about. There was one article that was written here in Queens. It was called Profit by Loss. He made $1 million according to that article. According to that article, he made $1 million off of John Cummings' campaign. Can you imagine that? So is it about the win or is it about the loss? Because it seems like they make a hell of a lot of money when you lose. Because they're in bed with the Democrats. I call him the whore of the Democrats. And I'm not going to stop talking about it because innocents, seniors are getting affected, children are getting affected. They're putting out vending machines that's going to normalize crack pipes to our children, right? We had Pride Week last week where, they were screaming out and chanting, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." This is disgusting. And we can't blame candidates. We have to blame the seed, because the seed makes it possible for no one to win but the people that they've already made a backroom deal with. I want to say thank you, everybody. Don't let go of this. Keep on the fight. God bless you all. Thank you so much. And vote and support Phil Grillo, because he's the best.
Any questions for Samantha before I go to you?
Yes, any questions? Samantha, I have a question. Yes.
Thank you, Warren, for all the things that you've done for the party, that you've done for other like-minded people that think like you, that walk like you, look like you, and somewhere.
Yes.
So, what are you going to do? Where do you go from here? Now that you know that you got.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take every step possible to remove the corrosion in the Bronx.
Oh, great.
He's going to go. The corrosion is going to go. We're cleaning that up. We're gonna clean it up. We need good representation, and I'm all for the balance of representation. We have, a constitution that talks about the enumerated powers, checks and balances, right? But who's doing the checks and who's doing the balance? If it's just one party, we might as well start calling New York Commie New York, because soon enough it's going to be a communistic state. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Our children are overdosing. They're normalizing crack pipes. You can go and just put your zip code in, and they start coming out. Children are curious. Today they're going to look at it and go, "Ooh, what's this?" Tomorrow they're going to try it. The next day they're going to seek the crack. Let's try to get high. And they want to tell us that it's about saving lives. Well, if you want to use Narcan, and if you want to put Narcan in the hands of people, then leave it at the pharmacy where responsible adults can go and get it and have it in their possession in case somebody, overdoses. This is about a mental disorder that clearly, to me, I call it a disease that has no cure if we don't get up and fight the fight and fight it at the seed level and make sure that it's not going to infect us all, if we don't do something about it.
Where do you stand on the medical freedom issue?
I'm all for my body, my choice, right? I don't appreciate anybody telling me that I have to get a shot. I didn't get a shot. I won't get a shot. That's my choice. When I was born, God gave me my promise to free will when I took in my first breath. And no one's taking that from me.
Right.
The Constitution asserts that promise. And if we don't get it from Constitution, we get it from God. That's the position I take with it. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Yes.
So how do we plan for the 50-minute cities coming and all the weather, the next weather pandemic?
Weather pandemic.
Next planned pandemic. Next planned pandemic.
Congestion pricing.
Well, I'm not for the congestion. I think it's ridiculous. Look, there was a questionnaire that was put on New York City votes, and the question had to do with, what was my position on climate change and whether or not taxes were going to benefit. And my thoughts are this, our earth is going to cleanse itself. And I don't care what we do. Tax dollars are not going to change Mother Nature's mind. If it means to do something, it's going to do it. This is not the first time in our historical earth that it cleansed itself. They're saying that we need to get rid of our boilers and raise the taxes and raise this. It's all about them making the money, you see. This is a get-rich-quick plan while every one of us get broke. That's what it is. So I don't buy it, and I don't buy there was a pandemic, but I'm a firm believer in the man above. I have a date of birth, and I have a date of death, and nothing's taken me in between. That's my thoughts, so that's where I stand.
And we have Ying Tan, who is right now the winning on the machine vote, because we're going to be on the vote.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my name is Ying Tan. I'm running for City Council in District 43. So I want to echo that to this lady. So I'm not a flavor by the party. I'm not endorsed by the party at the very beginning. I actually suppressed by the party. Well, for whatever reason it is, as the Constitution, we have the right to run for office no matter what. So whatever reason that you give me is nonsense. I have my right to run for office. And I have been helping and growing the GOP party with the Asian community for years. I have been working so hard to grow a party. And I can just give away this seat to all these not hard-working candidates.
Good.
So my opponent is run for the state senate last year. So that is why they flavor him and believe that he get all the vote from the non-Asian voters. So for this one, I've proven one thing is, what doesn't kill me make me stronger. Throughout the whole campaign, I gathered hundreds of the voters, not even Asians, non-Asian, Jewish, Russians, Italians. I got hundreds of the supporters. They eventually became a volunteer throughout the whole campaign.
Good job.
And I won the seat. I won the primary. And continuously, I will continue to fight for my community, and I will have been growing the party. The reason why the Republican Party has been so weak is because we are not united. The party has separated every one of us. And during the whole campaign, my mission is to gather all these Republicans together, to honor all these people who have the same value like me. We have the same concept, we have the same value to honor the GOP party. That is why I am here, not only to run for the seat to help my community, also growing the party. This campaign is a very good chance for me to unite all the people together. With all my effort, my party will grow bigger and bigger. This is what I believe. As a Republican person, I'm very proud of being a Republican. I don't know how you guys feel, but I am, because since the first day I registered to vote, I am a Republican already. I honor the value of law and order. I honor the family values. I honor common sense. This is what I'm going to try to bring to my community, to prove that the Republican will be the person, will be the party to take over the city. We have to win the seat and encourage more Republican candidates to come out to work with me. We have to make a balanced government. And we have to prove that no matter how many candidates that you're in favor and you try to put into the race, we, the people who are capable and passionate, we will fight this. And I am the fighter. And I prove that I won this battle.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you please define family values and common sense? What does that mean to you?
What do you mean? Can you say it
What
again?
does family values mean to you? What does common sense mean to you? Everybody has a different opinion on it.
Okay, so first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the first generation immigrant. So why we moved over here to the United States? Because we believe that we are all equal and we have the freedom in the country. This is what makes America the greatest country in the world. So what we honor is the harder you work, the better effort that you have, the reward that you have. And we are here to make a better life. We honor families because we have love, right?
Yes.
So this is what we believe. This so is like we believe in God because we believe in love. This is what I believe. Common sense is you cannot go too extreme to the left or to the right. You have to make common sense is, for example, like you have to, like the medical freedom choices, they have to talk about the mandate, right? So what I believe that we have our choice. You cannot put in just something in my body without my consent, right? This is why I believe this is common sense. And I don't like support it. Like, oh, when I talk about it, I want to ransom one story. So my husband actually ran senior daycare centers. So throughout the whole pandemic, we are not getting all this vaccine because we go against them. We don't want to put something into our body without knowing what the vaccine about. And during that time, like throughout the whole pandemic, we didn't get a vaccine. But under the policy of the New York City, if you open your business, you have to get 2 shots of vaccination. That is why we get it. And we have been and we also cannot tell the seniors, you cannot take the vaccine. We have witnessed seniors who get paralyzed after taking a vaccine. Me and my husband got angina for months. We went to a lot of doctors to find out the reason. There's no doctor can tell me what is going on with our body. This is what the vaccine causes our body have so many changes. We have been sick for months. And what can we do? We cannot do anything about it because the city has been putting a regulation to force us to have it. And because of the job that we have, because of the business that we have no choice. So this is one thing we have to fight for, you know?
Good job.
Yes?
So, do you senior center distribute the mask to the senior people?
You have to, because under regulation, if you don't do that, you get the penalized. They will fine you a fee, a very expensive fee.
But do you give it them for free?
Of course, this is the law. You have to do it. You have to provide to the senior who will come to your center. So this is not on us. It's on the city. If you run a business, you have to follow like certain regulation. You have no choice. This is not my choice, you know?
And right now, they are still having a very ambiguous rule. They are still keeping you liable for anything happen to your place, your medical place. But they, in February, they so-called removed the requirement, but you are still liable if something happens. Unofficially, and they still enforcing some crazy rules. So all the insurance company has no clue what they should do. And they just apply whatever rule they think that can possible
to enforce to us. So like the face mask, they don't want to say it out, hey, you don't need it, but they won't tell you that, you know, you have it, you must have it. That's the problem. They keep it very ambiguous.
Are you referencing to insurance companies?
Insurance company, especially for seniors type insurance, they are having regulation or regular inspection to every single medical site. So you have to have your face mask ready, but if anything happens, it's your liability.
What about 15-minute cities? Can you speak on that?
I'm sorry?
15-minute cities that are happening now in the world. How do you feel about them?
What do you mean by
Digital currency being controlled, how you move? You never heard of 15-minute cities?
No. No, I don't. Can you explain more?
Okay. What has happened, okay. This is, if you are, do things that the government doesn't like, you get your rights taken away. Did you hear of that happening in China?
You can't move, you can't go further than 15 minutes from your home. And there are cities in London and in England that are doing that. You're not allowed to go further than 15 minutes from your home. Congestion pricing is actually...
Have you heard of that?
Right, she wants to know if you've heard of that.
But I will look into that. Thank you for the reminder. No, I never heard about it. But I will look into it.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Martha?
Yes.
Yes, if you're elected, if once the election is finished and you're in office, instead of defunding the police.
No, I actually support the police.
Right, no, I've said instead of defunding the police, would you work to defund the Department of Health, which has been a tyrant and forced this stuff on us, and also is browbeating parents and terrifying them into giving their children shots that are poisonous. They're with nothing but lies on, and now they're spending our tax money to spy on communities and list them as dangerous. We need to get rid of the Department of Health, and I'm curious to know how
So the city budget for every department is very important. So because every department, they have their own job to do with it. So maybe this is one of the question that you asked about, but we have to support all different departments. You cannot just cut the funding for individual departments just because some kind of policy that you don't like. Because all the department in the city is helping us to regulate the whole city.
I would ask that they show that they have done anything positive. Frankly.
I'm sitting at one bed with all those people. We are those Democrat politics.
Show us that they have done something that justifies our tax dollars. I don't see any evidence.
I will make sure that every penny of our taxpayer will go to the right place.
Into the Board of Health. That's what I intend to do when I get in office.
I'm sitting at one myself with all those politics.
Any more questions?
Any other questions there?
Okay, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a general question. You seem to be saying that, you wanted to, nobody could say that Joe Pinion is not for building the Republican Party. He's definitely for that. But he made a comment which said that if people go out and talk to the voters about their concerns, that's the movement. And that's what makes people want to support the Republican Party.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, you know what? From the whole, actually announced to run on the Valentine's Day. So ever since that, I'm on the street every day for hours. I'm now on like 9,000 doors in the district. I talk to every single voter about the concern. I'm the most hardworking candidate throughout the whole district.
Beautiful.
Even I do the door knocking until the last day before the primary. I have been there for every day, whenever I have time, like hour to hours. I've been there every day, I can tell you. I talk to every single voter. That is why I gather all these voters to become my volunteers, to be my supporters. And that is why I can grow the party stronger and united Forget it.
Are you gonna win the general election?
Yes, I will. I believe I will. Yes.
Any other questions? Well, Ying, thank you very much. We want to support you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
We still have about 20 minutes left, okay? Now, I'm sure the club would like to basically make some couple of announcements from the club there. We are sending for all those candidates who are on the ballot and are participating in Campaign Managed Fund. I'm going to use our resources to get all of them at least $5,000, okay, so they can qualify. Okay, so I'm going to basically ask you, email you, hopefully you help them out. We're going to keep you up to date as to who has met the matching fund there. We're going to at least get all our Republican candidates and medical freedom candidates, at least who have participated in matching fund to qualify. Also, including Marilyn, including Daniel, okay. Now also, since we have several candidates here, I'm going to have the remaining 20 minutes for those candidates to basically present themselves. So Marilyn, you want to go first?
I had a conversation with Ed Cox.
So I
looked at all
I
had a conversation with Ed Cox.
Marilyn is running in the 27th Council Manager District, okay?
South Jamaica. I think you know me, I'm a police officer, 9/11 first responder survivor, and I'm running for my city, my state, and my country. At one point in my life, I was really depressed at one point. I really wanted to leave here, and I just said, people said, Marilyn, come to Florida, you know? You can stay here as long as you want. When I thought about it, I said, no, I can't leave here. I have to fight for my city, my state, and my country.
All right.
Because when I look around, I see my country, my city, my state looking the way it is right now. I don't recognize it. It looks like Beirut. Right. So I'm fighting for justice, truth, justice, the American way. And I want everyone to please join the campaign. We need you guys. We really need you. I love her speech. Keep fighting for justice, truth, and justice, the American way. Daniella also. Daniel Maio, all the candidates here. I had a conversation with Ed Cox, and I was part of the RLI, this is called the Republican Leadership Initiative, to help Donald Trump get elected. So I approached him at the meeting, and I said, I helped you. I came out for Trump. I need you to come out for these local races. And he listened to me, and now we're going to get the help from the RNC party. So I'm glad about that, and please join the campaign.
Hi, I'm Daniella. I met a lot of people here. I'm running for City Council in District 31 in Queens. Running against an incumbent. She's been there for a while, and we need to finally do something to shake up that side of Southeast Queens. The Democrats have had a hold on that side of Queens for a very long time. I grew up in the district. My family immigrated here from Jamaica to that district, and it has been the same, and it's the same complaints we have, and we need to make changes. Now, my petitioning process was a very interesting one. I didn't have the support of the Queens County. I petitioned on my own. I drove my petitions up, made my own committee to fill vacancies, and I got out and I knocked on every single door in my district and got on that ballot, got on the Republican ballot, got on the parent party ballot, and got on for mad as hell, and I did that with no assistance from the Queens County GOP. So I'm very proud that I was able to do that on my own, especially being a newcomer into the Republican Party. I wasn't always a Republican. When I decided to run, I thought being a Democrat was the right thing to do. Because I'm black, that's what you're supposed to do, and this is where you are, and this is what they tell you. So, until I started reading the policies, and I realized they're very good at pretending that they're gonna do stuff for the people, but they actually don't do much of anything. So, I switched.
Sorry.
So I switched, and because I woke up. So maybe that switch will wake up a lot of those in my district that look like me, come from a background like me, and maybe we'll wake up that side of Queens so that we can make a difference. During the redistricting, we picked up the entire JFK airport and 20-30 blocks in a Jewish community in Far Rockaway. During petitioning, I realized that a lot of that community is Republican, and a lot of the females are registered Democrat, but vote Republican. So that's secret votes that are there that we need to push out, and I need to get assistance to get the message out. Danny mentioned assisting with matching funds. That is very important. The sooner we hit those thresholds, the sooner we get matched, the sooner we can get our message out there with media, because that is very important. That's the times that we are in, where social media runs the world. So we can break through the algorithm and run the world along with that, then that's the goal. So I don't want to take up much of anyone's time. You could go to my website, Daniella4ny.com. If you want to volunteer, that's great. If you want to submit a small donation of $10, that's even better. But anything will help, because without everyone coming together, candidates, constituents, everyone, we're not going to be able to do this. And this is a good year to flip seats on this low voter turnout year. And I'm going to keep saying it, because we need to get everybody out to vote, because this is the year to make those changes. So let's get it done.
What is your last name?
May, M-A-Y.
And your district?
31.
Now, all the candidates will be on our club's website at central.queens.jup, and I'll be sending out emails, so you can go to the link there. So next Daniella is Susan Ramgopal, again, 28th District. Rusat?
Good job.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and really thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having these wonderful events to get everyone together. Please, round of applause. I have to say, I've met good, bad, and everything in between among types of people since I've been running. Mr. Mayo, definitely one of the best. So for those who don't know me, my name is Rusat Ramgopal, and I love to introduce it. So my name has USA right in the middle. Yeah. So I'm running in District 28. So thank you. And like Daniella May, I also come from. I was born here, but my parents immigrated from the West Indies as well. Immigrants are conservatives. They just don't know it yet. They just don't know it yet. When it comes to most issues, that's how they are. They don't want drag queen story hour for ages 3 through 8, right? They may have come to this country and signed up as Democrats for whatever reason back in the day, but this isn't that Democrat Party anymore. This is something left of left. This is ridiculous. And we have a great opportunity this year with the low turnout, as Daniela was saying just now. In my district, I counted, because I think we have an advantage of looking at the data now, because we know how many Democrats are going to turn out based on their primary, because they had a competitive primary for DA. So whoever was going to come out, we saw who was going to come out. In my district, only 3,600 people came out. In a normal year, it's 14,000 Democrats turn out for their primary. So this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for us to flip that district. Because let's be honest, we're never going to beat 14,000. But 3,600, we can beat that. We can turn out 4,000 people and win that district come November. So where is District 28? It's between Liberty Avenue and the Belt Parkway, 100th Street going up to Guyborough Boulevard, right? So it's split by the Van Wyck Expressway. Between 100th Street and the Van Wyck is what we call Little Guyana. And that's where I have my Guyanese base that Adrienne Adams has left behind every single step of the way. Since she got in, she's totally ignored our side of the Van Wyck. And a lot of people are upset about that. They see the potholes, their roads are terrible, the sanitation is terrible, every single issue. That's why when we're running the campaign, we run on local issues, because that's what it's all about. Your public safety, sanitation, education, the schools are failing in the area, she doesn't care, but the parents care. And that's why the top 2 groups of voters that I see who are normally Democrats who are going to vote Republican this time, parents who are upset not just at the failing schools, but the indoctrination instead of education in the schools. And business owners who have to be afraid for their safety because they're treated like the wrong type of minority and they don't get any proper protection. And they see the shoplifting happening. You would say every day, but it's nearly like every hour now, right? So with what's going on there, it's terrible. I mean, and you look at her policies, she wants, so defunding the police in 2020 wasn't good enough. She wants to defund them further. She wants to shut down Rikers Island. She wants to expand Drag Queen Story Hour. Like, you think to yourself, if these guys weren't so stupid, we wouldn't even have a chance. But at least we do, because they've totally lost the plot. That's why we have the common sense line as well, because we have common sense, they have just nonsense. So we have a chance of winning this year. We can turn out the voters, as Daniela was saying. If anybody, any help to my campaign is obviously greatly appreciated. A little bit more about myself. I'm a lawyer by training. I have 2 law degrees, one from the University of London and one from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. So don't worry, I can advocate my point, and and we'll prosecute the case against her every single step of the way. So I'd love to take any questions. I see.
Well, do you have volunteers who will be willing to be poll watchers for you and knock on doors?
Yeah, so I have, but the more the merrier, right? Like, because look, it's an uphill battle. So if I have 10 volunteers a weekend, we only cover so much space. We need the most we could get, right? And
where do you stand on medical freedom?
Oh, so where I stand with that, as everybody else has said. Yeah.
You're against it, brother?
No, I'm not against that at all. No, I don't know. I can answer for
well,
myself.
We did ask you. We did approach you to be on the ballot, and I'm just saying, and that's fine.
Look, I'm a first-time candidate. I had to just try to get the independent lines I could get. I didn't have time to just go and get multiple different lines. I got the one I could get. With regards to medical freedom, look, again, as many people have said, it's your body. You decide what you want to do with it. There were things that were said to people that now as many times the government says certain things, and you find out now it wasn't true. And the fact that people were mandated to do something that they didn't feel comfortable doing, it's a terrible stain. It's a terrible legacy that we will have to live with. And it should never have happened and should not be repeated in the future. As I said, for instance, I have degrees from the University of London and Georgetown. So when I was in London at the time, I also saw how they were handling it there. And I thought, with regards to vaccine policy, one of the better world leaders was Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson did not mandate in the UK. And they still had a high vaccination rate. They had like a 78% vaccination rate, which was not that much lower than the US, but they did not infringe upon the freedoms of those who didn't want it. They just, if it's your choice, if you want it, you take it. They trusted the people, and that's the mistake that we didn't do. We need to trust people. You take the information, you make your own choice. What do you want to do?
But you see those 2 people there, they just said they had angina, but I understand was myocarditis too, right? From the shots?
Yeah.
I don't know their individual stories. Yeah, I can just say, in terms of like what I've seen with my own eyes, my personal family experience. So my dad is a stroke survivor, and he was somebody who, his brother's a doctor, infectious disease doctor. He said, get the shot. He got the first shot. He was fine. He got the second shot. And after that, he had a bit of a relapse. And at the time, he was saying, I think it's a vaccine. And every doctor around him was saying, no, you can't blame the vaccine. No. Can't be anything related to that. Now you have studies coming out that vaccines, especially this particular vaccine, had certain side effects in stroke survivors that it really should not have been mandated or prescribed for them. So that's something I saw with my own eyes. My dad was being told, take the shot. Now we know the doctors would not have advised him to take the shot if they had the data they had now. And that's why, look, hindsight's 2020. Those should not have been mandated for everyone. When doctors went and said, oh, it's safe for everyone, everybody has their own particular health conditions, and that needs to be respected. I know with regard to my dad and his particular story, he's not the same that he was before 2021. So.
Okay, we have, let's get out of the candidates here, okay, thanks. Like, also, we have 2 more in Queens, Ms. Chandler, Chow, okay, would you like to speak?
Hello, I'm Zhile Cao. I'm running for District 25. I'm also helping the Medical Freedom Party to address the issue, to telling the people that the mandate is wrong, that the forced vaccination is wrong. I run the office because someone had to stand up against those Democrat progressives or communists. Somebody need to come up and against them. I don't have to be in the office, but they have to out of the office. Because New York City, it can run by itself without the mayor telling the police prison what to do, and without the Department of Health telling the hospital what to do. They can run by itself. They don't need those people. Those people need to out. The city can run by itself. And even better, the purpose for those people in the position is because they try to destroy the system. And then they make up a deal. We say, oh, capitalism's not working in the US. And then the constitution's not working. Now we need a great leader like Stalin or Xi Jinping to run this country. That's what they try to do. They on the position because they want to make things worse and destroy the system. And then the dictator can take over. So they have to out of the office. That's what they need to out.
Just like the lockdown for 3 years. They open the border and then everybody get in, and then they try to prove that Donald Trump's wrong, and then release somebody to replace Donald Trump. They play the same game right now. So they need out. I don't have to be in office, but someone need to stand up and against them and let them out from their office.
Chow is the 25th district, which is Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and the last one from Queens with Bernard Chow is 23rd district.
Hi everyone. Daniella, she's the first time running here today.
Yes.
Or she's not running for office today, all right? This is the first time running for office today. Do you feel nervous when you're standing here?
No.
Good job. I'm telling you, I was very nervous from the beginning, even today. Why? Because I'm facing all these experienced people. You guys can tell this issues, that issues. You got 20 heads, come up with 20 different issues, and I only have one head. And I can remember only that much. So I want every one of you here, remember that. Being out here, standing up here, and asking for your help is a courage. They already stepped out one step at a time to make the change. So please remember, we are all trying to make the change for better.
Good.
But let me ask you one more thing. Do you get your answers for any policies based on what the government tells you? Especially, I mean, hey, we're in the political clubs. This is not one thing that we do. It's that we always ask for balance. We always ask the other side what's happening. Is that really that's what's happening? Is it really that's what's going on? Did we do that on everything, especially the major issues? You guys think about that for yourself. Me, I'm Bernard Chow, running for District 23.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. And I am out here is because of the elected officials. They don't say enough. They tell you what you want to hear. Is that the truth? You don't know, right? We need to find out. Maybe we want to ask the other side, what's going on? Why was things come out that way? Maybe we want to find out why they are so quiet all the time. So if for someone in the party, they are very quiet, and they say, oh, I support you, but because I belong to this party, I cannot come out and speak against that. But I will support you on the back. Yeah, they'll support you on the back, right? So this is what we need to face, and this is what we need people to know about it. Is that we don't want them to support us on the back. We want people like us, people who's willing to come up to the front and fight for us. We need the people to be behind me so that they can support me to come and fight for them. Okay? I need 20 different heads, I need 30 different heads to think for me so that I can be up front and yelling out loud what my people behind me is wanted. What do they want? Okay. So I ask for you guys to think about the other side of the story also, not just listen to one side of the story. Thank you very much.
And let me switch to Brooklyn. Marguerite, would you like to go next? Marguerite is running in the 34th district.
Questions for me?
Oh.
Can I just say no? Are we doing questions, Danny?
Well,
I thought you were doing hallelujah.
We have a lot of candidates.
You're going to talk. At 9:30, we'll do 53.
So I'm very inspired by everyone. I couldn't hear a lot. I was sitting in the back. The reason I'm doing it is basically what everybody has said. I love my country, and I'm afraid for it. And I love the Bill of Rights, and I can see that it's being taken away. So thank you. I'm in 54. Oh, I'm the Medical Freedom Party candidate. I changed to the Republican Party 2-3 years ago because of Donald J. Trump.
Good job.
Hi, my name is Tomaszewski. I'm running not because I like to run for the office. I'm running because, I came from a communist country. I know how it was in a communist country, I was jealous that American people can travel wherever they want. They can have cars, big cars. We don't. in Europe, in Poland especially. And so I was jealous. When I came over here, I was thinking that finally America, beautiful country of opportunities, you can have it wherever you want. And just 3 years ago, boom, everything was switched, They said, what do you want to have, what you have to have, and how you are going to get it. Yeah. They forced it to put you, like your faces, put the mask on the face, don't speak up, shut up. And you have to take a vaccine, doesn't matter if you like or not, you have to take it, because that's what they thinking. What it is, it's communist. And I'm not for a communist, that's why I'm running.
Sorry, I missed something, okay? Sorry about that. Okay, I am very glad that Steve gave me the support of the Medical Freedom Party. Thank you very much. Remember one thing, we are asking for medical freedom.
He tells me I'm running for the Medical Freedom Party.
Yes! Medical freedom.
Thank you.
What's medical freedom? Is I can decide for myself. So I can decide for myself to take the vaccine. I can decide for myself or not to take the vaccine. All we are going against is the mandate. Right. Not taking the vaccine. Every situation, every person have a different health condition, have different environmental need. Right. We need to respect that too, please. Thank you.
And no more extending emergency powers.
I'm sorry?
The emergency powers need to...
Got to take it away. Got to take it away. The emergency is gone.
Well, they
even take it away. Even FEMA take it away already.
Yeah.
Martha, she's on 33rd.
Martha, chairwoman of the club. Thank you, Martha.
My name is Martha Rowen, and I'm running in the 33rd District against the co-chair in 33rd District in Brooklyn, against the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus.
Hooray! Yay!
The Progressive Caucus that wants to defund the police so that they can develop, and they say it in their own statement, so that they can come up with their own security forces. What do you think that means? We get rid of our police, who are part of our community, and we get their special shock troops. I have already said my opinion about defunding, or at least asking serious questions of the health department. And as Kathy just said, these states of emergency are just a pretext for tyranny. They have always been used by tyrants, and this state of emergency, it was always a fraud, but they're going to come up with other ones. Kathy mentioned the 15-minute cities. One of my districts is dealing with a whole bunch of stuff that when you look at it carefully, you can see they're beginning to put in the infrastructure for 15-minute cities where they limit the ability of people to move around, and then they set up their little points at which you're going to have to pay to go into another part of the city.
Electric cars.
That's not. All of this, and never mind, people have brought up the subject of the schools. I am a retired school teacher, a high school teacher. I am absolutely beside myself with shame and horror at what is going on in our schools. The indoctrination and what's happening with what they're doing to our children. Child abuse is not nearly a strong enough word for it. All of these bureaucrats in the Board of Education, the Board of Health, all of the Department of Transportation, who expect to be treated like little princelings, no. And when I get into office, I'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. We'll never have another scamdemic or scammed climate or anything else.
I'm running my name is Daniel Lally. I'm running in the 40th City Council District. I'm running basically just to get my name out and to get the Medical Freedom Party name out. So if somebody wants to say, you know, screw you, Democrats, they have a way to... So yeah, basically that's it.
You're the coolest one, man. You're the coolest one. Okay, next number to Bronx. Okay, Bronx, Robert Caemmerer. He's in the 11th district, Republican and Medical Freedom.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert Caemmerer from the District 11 in the Northwest Bronx, and I'm on the Republican Conservative, and of course the last and the best, the Medical Freedom Party. And so everybody knows we're not just concerned with medical freedom, we like all kinds of freedom.
Yes.
How about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to walk down the street unencumbered by government or any other entity. We need more freedom, less government. How about that? Is that a good idea? Is that a novel idea? So I'm very proud to be part of a fine bunch of truth seekers and freedom fighters, and this is a marvelous movement. And my opponent in the Northwest Bronx is Eric Dinowitz, and his father is Jeffrey Dinowitz. And guess what? They're in the same district. It's the family business. And right now, the father has a bill pending, I believe, to vaccinate every child, kindergarten through 12, without parental consent. And if you do some searching for him, for Jeffrey Dinowitz on the internet, you'll find that he's referred to as Big Pharma's man in Albany. Just what we need. So, you know, it's I think we all know what we're involved with here, you know? It's what I call the endless psychopath parade. You know, they gave you Hitler and Stalin, and you got rid of them, and then they gave you the chairman, right? Chairman Mao and Pol Pot.
CDC.
And you got rid of them.
CDC.
CCP. There you go.
CDC.
CCP. It's all the same stuff, right? Yeah. Now you got Fauci and Gates and Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari. You know, I mean, what's this mandate stuff about anyway? You know, it sounds like it's a little out of ancient Rome. Maybe the Pharaoh in Egypt. You know, Caesar hath decreed that thou shalt be vaccinated, right? You know, what's going on here? So, it's great to see all you here, and thanks for your support.
Thank you. And last but not least, that new woman that happened, okay? Elizabeth?
Okay,
Yay.
I cannot talk that. I can't talk that. So I'm in District 5 in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. I'm in this because of what's happened over the last couple of years. It's, to me, unconscionable what's happened. I'm very proud that my Democratic opponent seems to have hired an attorney to try to get me thrown off the Republican line. But the Manhattan Republican team did actually support me, and we were able to keep me on the Republican line. Unfortunately, the same Stanley Schlein is his name. just so you all know. The attorney also tried to get me thrown off the Medical Freedom Party line. And that actually did go through. So I started a pro se lawsuit to try to take the Board of Elections and the objector to court over it. I did lose that case. I may appeal. Anyway, I want all of you to go enjoy a cheeseburger on Eric Adams tonight. For
No Bobrick. Three, and our last candidate tonight. Before we do the 50-50 then.
Okay, great speeches. I hate to be the last one. But anyway, they said there's a famous song, always leave them laughing when you say goodbye. But I want to make the speech a little bit, start out with a thing that I thought was very amusing. As many of you know, my wife is from China, and she can't break the habit of wearing a mask. She does home care work. And so we went to tea. She had a friend who invited us, and her the friend had somebody coming in from China. So you know how tea works in a Chinese restaurant. You go into a private room. So she walks in wearing a mask. And nobody else is wearing a mask. There are people from mainland China who had just arrived, and there was people from Staten Island and Brooklyn. So they looked at me and said, well, wait, we're over this now, right? Aren't we over this mask stuff? And I said, yeah. And then she took off the mask, and it was all very happy because she realized that it wasn't necessary to wear a mask. So that's how things have changed. But I want, so it was all very nice and cordial. So I want to ask the candidates to please. I'm a Medical Freedom Party, obviously, and I want to ask the candidates to, particularly, I didn't get to ask a question to this gentleman here. What's your name?
Rusat.
Yeah. When you win or when you campaign, will you campaign? Look, the thing that got me was that the politicians always said, "Oh, we have to do this because the health professionals say that." We have to mandate, with mandates and stuff like that. So I would urge the candidates, particularly, I didn't get to ask the question, if you would take up that health department issue that Martha raised, which I think is very important to get concrete about this. I already did. And say, you have to curb, you have to scale down the health department, make it do what it's meant to do, maybe merge it with some things with sanitation, but not with mandates and things like that, because that really is how they got around the public, by saying that we have to do this because these experts tell us, and we all know that the expert society by experts has eroded our Constitution. So that's my spiel.
Is that a lot of candidates who 2 years ago weren't speaking about our issue, weren't protecting our medical freedoms, have now turned around, right? And we appreciate that. We like that. We want that. We are an inclusive group that want to educate people, and the Medical Freedom Party is on the right side of history. We are on the right side of history. In the future, when we have our medical rights, it'll be people like Jeremiah, and people like Wes, and people like Alec, and Elizabeth, and Rob, and Margaret, and even Michelle, who have fought for our medical freedoms and our rights. I just want to say, I'm not here to make friends. I jumped into politics when they took our medical rights away, so I'm here to fight for that. And I intend to fight for that, and we've all fought for it together, and we've been successful, and people don't seem to like that, all right? But we're not here to play games. We're not here to make enemies. We want to make friends. And we've made a lot of friends, and it's hard to make friends when people are sniping at each other. So I just want to say again, we are on the right side of history, and this club has helped us a lot, and we have the best candidates in the world, and thank you.